向こうにいる敵全部殺せば俺たち自由になれるのか。
Attack on Titan talks about freedom more than any other anime. But have you ever noticed, the more Eren fought for freedom, the less it seemed he had a choice. At first, freedom looked simple. Escape the wars, defeat the Titans, see the outside world. It felt like something Eren Yeager could fight for, something he could eventually win. But the more he learned about the world, the more freedom itself became difficult to understand. And maybe that's the real question Attack on Titan was asking all along. Not what freedom looks like, what it actually means to be free. This is Blessed Anime Hot Takes, and today we're breaking down why Eren's freedom was never about choice, but what it truly means to be free. At the beginning of Attack on Titan, Eren Yeager's idea of freedom was almost childlike. Freedom existed somewhere beyond the walls. All he had to do was reach it. Defeat the Titans, see the outside world, finally be free. It's a belief that feels strangely familiar. We tell ourselves that freedom is always waiting on the other side of something. The next promotion, more money, leaving home, starting a business, finding the right relationship. That once we overcome whatever is standing in front of us, life will finally begin. And Eren believed exactly the same thing. Freedom wasn't something he already had. It was something he thought he could obtain if he just kept moving forward. But Attack on Titan did something clever. Every time Eren uncovered another truth, the idea of freedom became harder to define. At first, the walls were the prison. Then he learned it was the Titans. Then Marley. Then the world itself. Every answer was supposed to bring him closer to freedom. Instead, it only revealed another obstacle standing in its place. The world kept getting bigger, yet Eren's choices somehow felt smaller. And that's the paradox at the heart of his story. The more he understood, the more he began questioning whether freedom was ever something he could reach at all. If every choice came with consequences he couldn't accept, was he ever really choosing? Or was he simply following the only path he could live with? I mean, that's the real question Eren's story asks. Is freedom something we obtain, or is something we first claim for ourselves, and then we choose to live as if it's already ours? And that's the truth of Eren's story. Freedom isn't something we obtain. It's something you must first claim for yourself, and then choose to live it as if it's already ours. That's what makes Eren's story so different from the classic hero's journey. Most heroes fight towards a better future. Eren fought while knowing what the future would cost. He belongs to a rare kind of protagonist, the tragic hero. Characters like Anakin Skywalker and Paul Atreides. People who could see what lay ahead, yet still walked towards it. Not because they were fearless, or because they enjoyed it, but because turning away would have meant abandoning the very thing they believed in. That's what makes Eren's story so compelling. He never stopped moving forward, even when every step became heavier than the last. And maybe that's because Eren wasn't fighting reality. He was fighting against the idea that reality should decide who he became. There is a difference. One is accepting that the world cannot change. The other is refusing to let the world change you. Eren chose the second. Much of what made Eren so great had nothing to do with his Titan abilities, the rumbling, or even freedom itself. For me, that would be his conviction. From the very beginning, Eren told us who exactly he was. Someone who would keep moving forward. Someone who would refuse to accept the world as it is. And unlike so many characters, he lived by the words. He believed them and then acted on them. There was never a gap between what he thought and what he was willing to do. That's rare in anime and in life. Maybe that's why so many of us connected with him. Not because he was always right, but because he stood by what he believed in. Even when it isolated him, even when it cost him everything. There's something deeply admirable about someone who refuses to betray their own convictions, and Eren never did. So maybe freedom was never about having more choices. Maybe it was about refusing to let the world decide who you become. Because once Eren chose what freedom meant to him, there was no other path he was willing to take. And maybe that's the final tragedy of his story. The boy who wanted freedom more than anyone became the greatest slave. Not to the Titans, not to fate, not even to the future he saw, but the convictions he could never bring himself to abandon. Perhaps that's what we're all slaves to, the things we refuse to let go of, the belief, the dream, the purpose that gives our lives meaning. Eren's freedom was never about choice. It was about choosing who he would be and accepting everything that came with it. So now I want to ask you something. Is freedom truly something we can obtain? Or is it first something we have to claim for ourselves? Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, stay blessed.
これが自由だ。ついにたどり着いたぞ、この